As we sit here at the start of the year, have you decided what you want to achieve? Have you set your goals for the next 12 months? But let's be honest, it's not always the most exciting thing to do. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't aim for success in 2022. That was a double negative, I think. But anyway, you know what I mean. Hopefully. Whether you did or didn't, having a successful year should be at the forefront of all of our minds. I mean, whether you want to secure a new job or find a new partner or start a hobby or a side hustle or just aim for six-pack abs, we should all have something we want to work towards. That's why I want to talk about the best pieces of career advice for 2022. Bearing in mind we all spend a stupid amount of time at work, it would make sense to enjoy what we do there, I think. This doesn't need to be a fantasy, although, to be honest, that can feel that way if you feel stuck at the moment. But if we are going to go to work, we might as well make it as enjoyable as possible. I mean, this isn't some grandiose statement. I mean, I believe it to be true. I recently overheard a conversation this last week which made me quite sad. It struck my core and not really in a good way. You see, I heard two gents talking behind me, and whilst I was not listening, although it was hard not to as one had a wonderfully booming low voice, just think about Brian Blessed. Gordon's alive!
Gordon's alive!
Type approach. The conversation turned to work, specifically retirement. I've only got another 3 years until I retire. I don't think there's any point in changing what I do. I mean, it's too risky. I think it's all too late. I mean, with 3 years to go, who's going to employ me? I know I hate my job and would love to change, but I don't think I can. I think it's too late. This was what the conversation was about, and even now, the conversation brings me a heavy heart. I don't think it's ever too late to be happy. I mean, yes, we may have more commitments and find it harder to break out of our comfort zones, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't try. Life, I think, is too short. In fact, I'm going to go as far to say life is short enough. That's why when the Sunday evening blues got so bad for me, I quit my job with nothing to go to. I mean, the dread of Monday morning started ruining my weekend as the thought of going back to work creeped further and further into the weekend. Before long, even Saturday evening was being bombarded with thoughts of, tomorrow's Sunday. Well, that means I've got to go to work the day after tomorrow. I mean, it just wasn't healthy, and I knew that something had to change. If you'd like to hear my story of why I quit a very stable job with one of the biggest accountancy firms in the world with absolutely nothing to go to, then do click this link here, at the end of this video, obviously. Reflecting on the overheard convo, if you are coming to the end of your career, why wouldn't you take some risks now? I mean, what is there left to lose? If you have achieved all that you want, why not see what else is out there? You could always go out with a bang. Well, actually, maybe going out on a bang is not quite the right way to put it, because that sounds like you're going to pop your clogs. But the simple fact is we don't get a second chance at life. When we're lying on our deathbeds, looking back at our lives, I mean, do we want to say, I probably shouldn't have tried doing that really funky thing at the end? Or, God, I really wish I had tried something different. To be honest, I think the answer is pretty obvious in my opinion, but that's just me. I mean, it's easy to say, but hard to do, because if you do nothing, nothing will change. If you do something, something will change, whether that be good, bad, or indifferent. But the worst advice, I believe, is to do nothing. This is especially true if you're bored or frustrated. I mean, you either need to put up or shut up. That's the blunt way of saying you either need to do something about it or just stop complaining. With the next 12 months ahead of us, here are my 7 best pieces of advice to help make it the most successful year yet. Number 1, learn something new, like a skill. If we cut away all the noise and crap, careers are built on skills. I mean, you've only got to look at the rise of new jobs that just didn't exist 10 years ago. Blockchain analyst, cloud engineer, podcast producer, anyone? If you feel stuck, or at the very least your career has leveled off to the point where you feel like you're going nowhere fast, invest in yourself. Learning a new skill is simply the best investment you can make. In my career break, for example, when pursuing a change in direction, I had to stay positive. When everyone is telling you what can't be done, The only person you can rely on is yourself. So I learned how to become a life coach. Then everything changed. I met new people who gave me the confidence to pursue my dream. I knew I wanted to help people, but I was getting in my own way. I was talking myself out of taking action. I learned how to listen. Truly listen. Learned coaching models, how to give clients a safe space to talk, and how to use silence. The coaching skills bled into my career, funnily enough, and in fact helped me secure a role. Crazy as it sounds, coaching team members was one of the core components of the role, and one I could slot straight into. It was fantastically exciting and hugely intimidating in equal measure, but without the new skills, I'm not sure I would have secured that job. So why not throw yourself headfirst into a new skill? With so many online resources at your fingertips, there is literally no excuse. If you're struggling for where to start, Google Teachable, Skillshare, or Udemy. They'll definitely be your friends. Number 2, bad company or bad manager. We've all worked for somebody who just wasn't our cup of tea. You can insert your own description, but let's at least keep it PG friendly here. How your boss treats you will have a huge influence on your career. At the end of the day, people don't leave bad companies, they leave bad managers. So does your boss actually build you up, empower you, and help you to succeed? Or are they the type of person that just wants to keep you down, plagiarizing work, and being an all-round douchebag kind of person? The problem is we can convince ourselves that we have to stay. It could be out of some misguided loyalty or the fear of the unknown. But the fear is not a reason to stay. If you don't have the greatest boss, then this could be an indicator to change. As there definitely are good ones out there. They will provide you the opportunities. They will invest time in you, and they will help you grow. I know good bosses are out there, I promise you. Find one and they'll skyrocket your career, but they'll take some searching out. You'll need to ask around, hunt and search, as it's not going to land on your plate at the end of the day. But also remember, an interview process is a two-way street. So next time you have an interview, you should be interviewing your bosses for the jobs you're applying for as well. If in doubt, you could always collect a few questions from trusted friends that could help you seek out the boss of your dreams. Number 3, work on a side hustle after hours. Okay, first things first. What is a side hustle? Well, quite simply, a side hustle is a piece of work or a job that you get paid for doing in addition to your main job. It could be turning a hobby into a money-making machine or starting a new venture from scratch. The essence is you work on something you enjoy. The problem I've encountered is that many people are scared of the phrase side hustle. It sounds, hard. It's because it is. But in the modern age where burnout is rife, side hustles strike images of having to work all hours of the non-working day, hassling people on the street to buy something, but thankfully it's not quite as crude as that. A side hustle is all about working on something that you love. This can result in 2 things, really. You enjoy what you do, and it never feels like work. You won't feel bad missing the latest episode of your favourite Netflix series. Ozark, anybody? I'd encourage you to think of a side hustle as a bit of an experiment, except this experiment is one where you back yourself and start doing it for the love of what you do, rather than the money. By working after hours on a side hustle that pays you nothing, initially, you are focusing on the skills you are learning and these experiences you are gaining. They can put you in a strong position to learn new skills, and these skills could ultimately build you an empire. Number 4 is help others, especially your colleagues. Too many careers are built on selfishness. I found that the people who experience long-term career success are unselfish. The self-help guru Tony Robbins says that those who find a way to do more for others will succeed more than others themselves. It's true in my career, that's for sure. A mentor of mine a few years ago told me a phrase that has stuck with me ever since. Good leaders hire great people and then get out their way. I think the quote can be attributed to Lee Iacocca. Not sure if I pronounced that correctly, but even if this isn't right, it remains a very powerful phrase. It's one that I strongly believe in. It is my job as a leader to provide the environment and opportunities to succeed for my teams. I'm not afraid of hiring people brighter than I. Many are, but that's ultimately how we make progress. Yes, it might sound a little bit counterintuitive, but when your colleagues succeed, you succeed. Number 5 is around updating your online CV. This is all about LinkedIn. One thing no one will tell you when you're starting out is that people don't hire CVs. They hire people. Oh, and Simon Sinek will also say, people buy into people. So when you are looking for a job, you need to show that you are more than just the usual blurb on the CV. That's why LinkedIn is such a powerful resource. I mean, you don't run out of space on the page to show what you've done. It doesn't become outdated too quickly, and you can even add articles and videos to your profile, which is pretty much impossible in a traditional CV format. Consider this. When you are preparing to meet somebody for the first time, what do? I'm willing to bet you £1, yes, a whole pound, that it is head straight to LinkedIn and look them up. This is so you can see what they have done, whether you have anything in common or anything else that might be useful to the conversation. And that's why it's so powerful. But you need to keep it updated. The world is moving faster than ever before, and having an up-to-date profile is critical if you want to use it as a beacon for recruiters and prospective bosses. In addition, I believe you should share things on the platform and at times on wider social media. Now, this is where you need to be careful, because social media can be a real asset when used well, but if you get it wrong, it will destroy your career opportunities. Your future bosses don't want to see your holiday snaps when you're drunk and making a fool of yourself. But they will want to see your thoughts on a particular topic, especially if it's relevant to them. I've talked about it previously here, asking, is your social media killing your career? Each platform has its place. Just make sure you don't post Facebook relevant material on LinkedIn, for example. Number 6, don't get too comfortable. The comfort zone is where dreams and ambitions go to die. I'm sorry, that sounds harsh, but it's true. In the same vein, stagnation ruins careers. I'm sure you know the feeling, that one where you wake up for work each day and you just feel like something's missing, except you can't work out what it is. That is a likely sign that you've become too comfortable. I believe a career should be an adventure. I mean, many will tell you that changing jobs too frequently is career limiting, but I actually think that's nonsense. In fact, I've talked about why you should change your job every 3 years. Changing jobs keeps you in a state of growth. Plus, our lives are now made up of portfolio careers. I mean, a job for life is well dead. Even if it weren't, I just don't think people would want that anymore. In fact, it would bore the shit out of me, so it's not something I'm glad is still here. So if you're anything like me, the moment I get too comfortable, LinkedIn becomes my friend. Predominantly to see what is out there, but also just to keep me on my toes. I also have 2 criteria to help me determine if I am too comfortable in a role. Number 1, do I still respect the people I am working for? And number 2, have I stopped learning? If the answer is yes to either of these, it starts the thought process that it might be time to move on. If the answer is yes to both of these, then the exit usually isn't too far away. You don't need to have the same criteria as me, but I would encourage you to think about what would they be if you did have criteria to indicate when it was time to move on. It may also help you stay out of the comfort zone, if that's where you are at the moment. And number 7, invest in cash flowing assets. If we were honest with ourselves, going to work for money to pay the bills is probably the worst reason to have a job. But then again, hugs and kisses don't pay mortgages. So during the year, why not take part of your salary and invest it into proper financial assets? If you are unsure, then seek out proper financial advice. This isn't financial advice, obviously. But the point is, proper financial assets will allow you to start to take back control of your time. I mean, it won't happen immediately, but over time, you could be in a position to leave the proper job and follow your passion or dream. But the longer you leave it, the less likely it is to happen. And that's it. They are my 7 best pieces of advice for career success this year. It will take time and things may not happen overnight, but if you're prepared to get out there and get amongst it, you put yourself at the forefront of the success queue. We only have one life, so please live it well. Thankfully, portfolio careers are now widely accepted, so use them to your advantage. I mean, there are mountains of opportunities out there. It is up to us to seize them. This could be your transformational year. With that in mind, I would highly recommend this video here where I talk about why I quit my job with nothing to go to. I think you'll find it really insightful. But with that, have a great day, and I'll see you all in the next video. Cheers.